If you say something is taboo, well, that's the thing I wanna do. Do it black and blue. Let's be bad. Guns and gangsters sue me fine. Al Capone is a buddy of mine. He's my big shot Valentine. Let's be bad.
Hello, you lovely, lovely people. Okay, we're gonna delve into some crazy shit right now. Christian Grey. Mr. Grey. How do I describe Mr. Grey? He is a controlling... You know what, that's not even... He is basically, in this book, and he may change in the other ones. I haven't read them yet. I'm going to as soon as I'm done these reviews. In this book, he is the quintessential abusive boyfriend. I hate this fucker. I hate him. With the exception of once. But the other 99% of them hate him. Okay. He's controlling. He's jealous. He wants what he wants when he wants it. He doesn't listen. He's a terrible, awful human being who I can't believe is a hero in a romance novel. But then again, I think it's good because, I mean, they should have just named this novel, Abusive Relationship Simulator, because the entire time I was reading it, it made me think so many things that I actually looked at it and was like, wait a minute, I'm responding to this the same way an abusive girlfriend would. Or an abused girlfriend, pardon. Like an abuse victim would. Like, oh, he did this terrible thing, but now he's being really nice, and I don't know what to think because now he's nice, but 5 minutes later he's going to be mean and do unspeakable things, which unfortunately I'm going to have to talk about in this review. He is masochistic and animalistic and disgusting. That's the one word for him. He's just a monster and disgusting. Now that's not to say that he doesn't have potential like most abusive boyfriends. He can occasionally be very, very sweet. There's this one scene where, and this is the one and only time I can say I genuinely liked him. There's this one scene, spoiler alert, where, he and Anastasia fly a plane, and it's just really, really nice, and it's the one time we get to see them together in a not sexual manner, which I find refreshing, because I look at sex scenes in books like I look at cookies. Let me explain. Cookies are good. You like cookies. But if you eat too many cookies, you feel sick. Right? You get sick to your tummy. Well, it's the same with sex scenes. They, a couple, you're like, oh, this is great, and it makes you happy. But after a while, when it just keeps going on and on and on, you're like, I'd like some plot now, please. Because now I'm bored and kind of sick of this. So yeah. I found that a lot in this novel. I was like, not again. No, that was one thing. He is not a realistic dude. He's not a machine. Men can't do that. It's physically impossible to do that many times in that short amount of time. There's no refractory period. It's just like bam, and then you go again and it's like bam. And I mean, I understand it's a pornographic novel. This is why people want to read it. It's for these scenes. But when it gets to a point where you can't suspend your disbelief anymore, when you're just like, this is not humanly possible, yeah, just not cool at all. I found it hilarious. I'm like, he's not a human, he's a machine. Yeah, he just doesn't do it for me. That doesn't mean that he has the potential though to be a nice man. He does. You can see sweet moments. And there are people out there, like when I read the comments, they're like, but he's a good guy. He's just, he just needs to be loved. He wasn't loved as a child. That's one thing. He had a very traumatic childhood. But he's also creepy, And, I mean, I get it. He's had a traumatic childhood. He so that leads into his sexual tendencies and his cruelness and his coldness. So all the girls are like, he just needs to be loved. Because if there's one thing women like more than a man who can take care of them, it's a man they think they can fix. And I'm not ashamed to say that, because I am the same way with the romance novel. I either want a man who's going to take care of me, or a man I can fix. And you say, but Becky Christian Grey does both of these. But it gets to a point where there's so much bad that there's not a redeeming quality about him. Like I said, he has the potential to be a good guy, But, I mean, it's just, until he, like Anastasia says at one point, at the very end, until he sorts his shit out, to quote her, until he sorts his shit out, he can't be with anybody. It's unsafe for the woman involved. That's the entire time I was reading this. All I could think, like 90% of the time, was get out, run away, get out. And I'm like, why do women find this hot? Because I'm reading it and I'm just disturbed, and more disturbed. I'm like, this is just abuse on paper. This is an abusive boyfriend simulator, and women for some reason like it. And that, I mean, I like it because of the way it's written. I mean, it definitely shows a different side. And I didn't like it till about the last. I mean, I started to like it, and then it got creepier and creepier. And then when that thing at the end happened, I started to like it again, because the chick finally came to her senses. But, yeah, it was just a lot of this, I've decided now, the whole S&M thing, well, I'm gonna make myself a pin that says, I'm vanilla and I know it. I desperately want one, because after reading this and what he considers, see, in his world, there's two types of sex. Okay? There's the vanilla, which is the what he likes to call run-of-the-mill, which I consider chocolate, really, but he considers it vanilla. And then there's chocolate, which he thinks is like the S&M whips and change shit. And I'm like, I'm vanilla. I like vanilla. Vanilla's good. And there are a couple scenes in this that they call vanilla, and they're extremely well written. I mean, they're cheesy as fuck, okay? Don't get me wrong, like, all these are cheesy scenes. I mean, oh my god. I thought I was cheesy, but after reading this, I'm like Shakespeare, man. I'm that good when compared to this. And I mean, I may be tooting my own horn, but I know some people who've read my writing, and they say, yeah, you're better than shit. I'm like, I know, which is kind of, both sad, but also promising. Because if this shit gets popular, then I'm going to be published because I write better than that. And she got published and is now a best-selling author. So, yeah. So that's good. But I mean, I will keep reading this series because I want to know exactly why Christian Grey is so fucked up. I mean, I'll get into this now, but I'm running out of time, but I have 5 minutes, so I'll start to get into it. His mother was a crack whore, of course. He has to have some tragic thing. And with these books, it's always sexual, so it's like, my mother's a crack whore. And then he leaves his crack whore mother, gets adopted at the age of, I think he says 4, I think he says, and moves in with this wealthy family who is supposed to represent, because it's based on Twilight, it's supposed to kind of be like Edmund Carlisle, I guess. I don't see it. There are certain characters in the series I can go, oh, like with Anna and Christian, I can sort of go, oh, that's Edward and Bella, because there are creepy similarities between Christian and Edward that I'll get into in the next video, I guess, because I run out of time. But anyway, he gets adopted by this family. He's very well off. He feels he was never loved properly. And at the age of 15, he develops a relationship with one of his mother's friends, whose name is I think it's Elena, but throughout the book they just call her Mrs. Robinson, which I guess fits. I found that funny. I laughed at that. There's a lot of these scenes that I actually laughed at. There's a lot of good one-liners here. That was like, I mean, they're cheesy one-liners, but I'm a cheesy chick, so, and I laugh at almost anything, so it made me laugh. And anyway, there's this woman who they call Mrs. Robinson, who was a married woman. She was older. We're not sure how much older, but definitely older, with her own children, and married. And with Christian, she begins a BDSM, sorry, if I'm going to say this, I have to say it right, BDSM relationship, and that's where he's exposed to the lifestyle. And strangely, or not strangely, because I guess abuse, you know, when you're abused, it sort of messes with your head. He does not blame her for what was done to him. He's not, you know, mad at her. In fact, in this series, they're still friends. Their relationship has deteriorated because her husband finds out. But they're still friends who occasionally have dinner. Which I was like, what? What? That was one of the things where I was like, I don't get it. She's an abuser, a child molester, and because the age of consent is 16. He was 15. But that's gross, and Christine Grey needs serious therapy. Serious therapy. The entire time I was reading this, I'm like, dude, you need serious help. And it's not your fault, and I know that, but you need serious help. And apparently he does go to a psychologist, or a psychiatrist, we're not sure which one, but he goes to a doctor, a shrink for lack of a better term, and he does talk about his issues, but it's obviously not, if it's working very slowly, very, very slowly, and he should probably see her more. and get in a serious intensive program where he goes and lives there for 3 months and then goes out in the world, because right now he's incapable of love and masochistic and gets his kicks by beating the shit out of women, which is gross and weird, and I can't believe we're supposed to like this guy. But that's the question of this series that I found out. I couldn't decide whether I was... Hang on, I'm recording, so you have to come back later. Sorry, guys. Yeah, it's... Where was I? Shit. It's weird that I couldn't tell if I was supposed to like him or not. You know, he's this man who just... We're supposed to like him because the heroine whose eyes were seeing through is completely enthralled by him. But he's so unlikable and so distraught and sick. The man is sick. He's seriously ill and desperately needs help. And I'm gonna stop there and continue in the next video because I don't want YouTube to cut me off. But yeah, so we will discuss more on whether Christian Grey is in fact a hero or a villain in this novel, because the line isn't very clear. But please message or post a comment on this video, again, video or otherwise, and tell me what you think of our who I consider to be an anti-hero. But I don't know whether the author is supposed to let us think that or not. So we will discuss that in the next video, and thank you all for watching. See you soon.